Warning. This episode contains conversations and depictions about self-harm that may be disturbing to listeners. If you know someone who is struggling or in crisis, help is available. Call or text 988 or chat 988lifeline.org.
They're coming here. They're waiting at the edge of the city. The piano round, buildings at night. And they'll take you one by one, and no one will hear you scream. No one will hear you scream.
It is Christmas time, everyone. That's that good old season of giving again, which means that we are almost a couple of weeks away, or actually 1 week away from the new year. And as we all know, since for a while, or if anybody's been paying attention to social media, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't really been on that shit like that. I feel like I've been like a total hermit away from the social media scene at the moment. I really don't know what's popping. I mean, the only time I know what's popping is when somebody send me something to show me what's popping on social media right now. But we are at the season of giving, and I'm pretty sure everyone is wanting to fast forward right now because the new year is coming, and based on this past election, depending on what political spectrum you are running on, you are definitely not happy about the new regime that is coming in, or should I say the returning regime, but with a new facelift. But anyway, that's the new year talk. We ain't talking about the new year. We talking about Christmas right now. And this is a holiday that I am not too particular about, or even just excited about. I mean, honestly, I have a big gripe against Christmas for a very long time as being an adult, honestly. And my gripe with Christmas, and y'all can say I'm the Grinch or the Scrooge or whatever, but I honestly don't find the importance of it anymore. I used to love Christmas as a child, as a kid, as a child. I feel like an old person saying that. I remember things when I was a child, but sorry y'all, I don't know where the fuck that voice came from, but I remember loving Christmas as a child. I don't know why I want to say a child. I love Christmas as a child, and it used to be one of my favorite holidays that I couldn't wait to see coming up, because I mean, of course, it's all about the presents. I mean, honestly, I feel like the traditions for me as a child, as I say it again, the traditions for me as a child has always been trying to figure out how in the hell does my mom do it? How does she manage to get those presents under the tree without me or my sister even noticing? Now, mind y'all, like, a little brief history about me. I mean, where I stayed as a kid, the house I stayed in, I mean, we didn't really have any rooms or anything like that, so our beds was basically in the living room with the Christmas tree and everything like that, because it was a small house. So for us, I mean, it was something that was kind of normalized. I mean, as a kid, the things that you grow up with, you kind of feel like it's normal until you realize later on in life it's not really that normal. But it is normal when you are growing up in a certain financial situation or stature. But anyway, this isn't a sob story about how broke Walterdoom's family is, but I'm just giving y'all a little backstory about like how that used to go about. But yeah, we used to sleep in the living room, and it was me and my little sister. My older sister, she had her own room, of course. You know, older sisters got to get their own room for their privacy, and my mom had her own room as well. So for me and my little sister, we both slept in the living room, and we had a Christmas tree. We had a fake one, by the way. We had to use a fake one because years ago, when I was a kid, I actually got allergic to a real Christmas tree. I don't know if it's really the case for me now because I haven't really had any allergic reactions to it, but I might have been around some fake Christmas trees. But either way, when I was a kid, and I remember when this happened too. I mean, I don't have vivid memories, but I do remember actually having an allergic reaction to a Christmas tree. So I had to have been like no more than like 3-4 years old when this happened. But one year my mom had a Christmas tree for us, real Christmas tree. And I don't know what I was doing with this tree or whatever, probably playing in it just like any other little kid would do. And what ended up happening to me is that I ended up getting like an allergic reaction where I guess my face was probably all bruised up, or, kind of like any type of other allergic reaction, itchy face or whatever and what have you. So yeah, I ended up getting an allergic reaction, and it's a funny story because it's a story that I remember that my older sister used to say, like, yeah, like he got an allergic reaction, whatever. So basically the joke is that when I got the allergic reaction, they told me not to look in the mirror. What was the first thing that I did? I looked in the mirror, and just like in like those like very funny like and I know I'm saying like a lot, but just like in those like hilarious cartoons or TV shows where the characters just do this whole dramatic no yell and whatever. That's basically what happened to me. I was dramatically yelling no after I figured out like what was going on with my face and everything like that. So after that year when we had that real Christmas tree, we ended up having just a fake tree just ever since then, until like basically we just stopped celebrating Christmas, where we stopped putting presents under the tree, because we don't do that present shit anymore, honestly. But yeah, back in the day we used to do that present shit back in the day. And the tree that we used to have used to be like a plastic tree that you could just basically take apart and put back together. We would have it sit in the closet every year until Christmas time rolled around. So one year I figured out, and this is when I figured out Santa isn't real. This is when I figured out Santa wasn't real. So one year, and I can't remember what I got as presents, but I remember it was maybe like I was in like the 3rd grade, maybe the 4th. And by then I figured out Santa Claus wasn't real. Or I think I still had like a little small belief in Santa. I honestly can't recall when I stopped believing in Santa, to be honest. But I feel like this year actually solidified my thoughts about Santa Claus. And it's like, for kids, we all have that dream about like, oh, Santa's gonna come and deliver presents to us and give us candies and fill up our stockings and everything like that. I mean, it's kind of weird if you think about it. I mean, it's a guy breaking into your house, dropping presents to you, or if he hates you, if you're on his naughty list, which is a weird title for a list for a kid anyway. He's dropping a lump of coal in your stockings. It's a weird twist. It's a weird twist when you really think about it. It's like, how do parents really justify this to tell their kids like this story about a man in red clothes and what have you coming into your house? I mean, don't let them break into a Crip neighborhood. I'm just saying, but that's the LA coming out of me right there saying that. But I'm back to my story. So yeah, it's kind of weird about the whole concept of Santa Claus, which I never really thought about, until I got like a bit older, like just basically as an adult. But during this time when I figured out that Santa wasn't real, which was the smoking gun of everything, was I remember one Christmas, I think I was looking for batteries because I think this year I got like a Game Boy, the first Game Boy. And the games that I got with the Game Boy was Super Mario World, or I think that's what it was called, but it was the Mario with Wario in it, where Wario made his first appearance. I had Tetris, and I believe I had Tecmo Bowl as well with those two games. I know for sure I had three. I had three I had three Nintendo games with my Game Boy. So those, I feel like those are the three games I had. So I think I was looking for batteries, and while looking for batteries, I came across a receipt from Toys R Us. Now, for those who are old enough to remember what Toys R Us is, I mean, that was the place to go. That was the place to go. It didn't matter what you wanted, whether it was like video games, board games, toys, bikes. The place had it all. You know, all the things that was fun to kids. I kind of low-key miss those days, though. I don't know. Does anybody else miss those days, those Toys R Us days? I mean, I'd swear, sometimes even just going in Toys R Us, you don't even have to buy anything. It was just almost like a hangout spot. So I used to love going to Toys R Us to get toys, but I also love going there just to play the video games, just to get a feel of what game I'm playing, or you know, a game that I don't even own, and I'm thinking about like, hey, I kind of want to own this one day. But mainly, I usually go and play like the Sega, the Nintendo games, because the only thing I owned was a Game Boy. I didn't own like a Nintendo, a Super Nintendo, or Sega, or anything like that. All my other friends, they owned that. But yeah, we was too broke to do all that. So I only had a Game Boy. Yeah, so I found the receipt, and that's when I realized, oh, Santa ain't real. Santa wasn't real after all. So it kind of brings me back to the story that I was going at before we went on this huge side quest and everything like that. So the side quest comes back to, how did they get those presents under the tree? And I swear, this is where I started to wonder, how did they do it? Because I remember every year I was just staying up. Every year it was like, after I found that receipt, every year I was staying up trying to figure it out, just waiting. And actually, I think I was like a little bit younger. I think I was either in a second or third grade when I found out. Either way, point being is, I found out early. Ever since then, I made it my mission to figure out how my mom did it. How did she manage to slip those presents under the tree without me and my little sister noticing? And I'll tell you, Team Doom, I actually saw the trick. The magician finally got his exposure. The exposure of the tricks was shown. So I was maybe like in the fifth. Yeah, I was in the fifth grade. Not maybe. I was in the fifth grade because I remember. So I was in the fifth grade, and for whatever reason, I couldn't sleep. It was basically, I want to say, like the last year of sneaking presents under the tree, trying to fool me and my sister, like how them presents are going under there. Couldn't sleep at all. Was basically up like 1, 2 in the morning because I was just excited. I was excited for the next day. So eventually, like, I tried to force myself to go to sleep. Basically, not really trying to see the trick or the wool being pulled under my eyes and everything like that, but I was just forcing myself, basically. Forcing myself. Unfortunately, I couldn't fall asleep. Which ended up being the downfall for my older sister, who was in on the whole trickery of the presents and everything like that. So basically, I was laying down. I was trying to act like I'm asleep or try to go to sleep until like I heard some rustling. And sure enough, I saw my older sister just moving stuff under the tree, just moving stuff there. And the thing about my older sister is that she is a very loud person. I mean, you anybody who ask about my older sister, they will say like, when she was a kid, she was the loudest kid in the room. Unlike me, I'm like very reserved and quiet. I do more observing and listening than talking in real life. Unlike here where I'm just like I'm yapping all the time and what have you. But, for me, I like to tell more stories. I don't like the whole random yaps. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I don't really like random yaps. I like to tell stories. I like stories that kind of like they build to something and they come out interesting. And, I like to tell stories too. I like to tell stories about little escapades and what have you, if y'all haven't noticed. But that's probably why, at one point I did want to like go into writing and kind of do my own little novelist type shit and what have you. But, nowadays I'm just like, all right, I'll do the podcast and tell stories from there. And, I like to hear other people's stories as well, because there's always some things you can learn, some things that are interesting about people's lives, and just hearing all the crazy shit that people go through is very interesting as well. But what happened? So here's what happened. She goes in, sneaks the toys under. She sneaks them under. I know this is a very long intro, y'all, but y'all gotta bear with me. This is gonna be an interesting episode, so as long as y'all stay with me, we good, we Gucci. But anyway, she sneaks the toys under, and she tries to be quiet, but it's very unsuccessful, especially since I couldn't sleep that night. So I'm just lying there, and I'm hearing her just dragging the gifts right under the tree and everything like that. And I don't remember what I asked for because it's so long ago. I always ask for like different things every single year, and I can't keep up with all the gifts I ask for, honestly. For real though. But she was just dragging the gifts, and I just remember like she was dragging the gifts and she was kind of loud with it. She was very loud. And I'm looking and I'm just like, okay, don't make a noise, don't say a word. But you know what? As a little kid, I was excited. I was just like, oh, I finally know the secret. You know how like little kids are. They always like, ooh, I know the secret. I know the secret, kind of thing. And, they do like that little kid dance and what have you. But they be like, ooh, I know the secret dance. But yeah, so like I found the secret, and I'm just excited to know that I know the secret now. So I think I kind of made a noise. I kind of snickered, and sure enough, that gave me away. And my older sister came to me. She was like, "Are you awake?" She smacked me a good one. She definitely smacked me. And I was like, yes, I'm awake. I'm awake. And sure enough, that pretty much like killed the whole secret of Christmas and the gifts. Oh man. But for you, Team Doom, I want to know, before we get into this episode, I want to know, did y'all ever catch your parents or family members sneaking the presents under the tree, or were you always fooled by the secret trick, or did your family even do that? Because sometimes, some people are just like, hey, Santa ain't real, bro. We're the ones giving the gifts, and some people have those traditions where like, they'll say like, oh yeah, you can open one gift and all that and the other. But yeah, just put in the comments whether y'all had that little exchange of the Santa fantasy and what have you. And if you did have the Santa fantasy, when did it end? Let me know.
History forever. You go down in history. What?
Anyway, now that that's out of the way, so that's pretty much my history with Christmas. I am, of course, not a Christmas person, but I am also not a Christmas movie type person either. Now, I gotta say, like, a movie that I used to like when I was younger was Love Actually. But I ended up watching it recently, and I actually watched a Cinema Sin about that movie too. And I had to ask myself, why the fuck did I like this movie? This movie is terrible. It's literally a movie about terrible people, honestly. Like, how did I end up liking something like this? I don't even know. I'm not even going to get into Love Actually. And another Christmas movie that I did like, I still like it. It's okay. Nightmare Before Christmas, it's alright. But, it is what it is. I mean, I remember all the emo kids, or not even the emo kids, but the goth kids when I was in high school. They used to glaze this movie up like crazy. They used to run around with the Jack Skeleton t-shirts and little fucking bobbleheads, or like the little keychain shits that they used to run around with on their backpacks and everything like that. And I like the movie, but I wouldn't say like it's like the defining moment of my life. It's the ultimate love story, because I could think of better love stories than that movie, honestly. But it's one of those things. It's like, if you're a goth kid, you will love that shit. But I wasn't a goth kid. I mean, I'm more of an emo kid. But even though I wasn't like running in the emo scene, because honestly, when that was a thing, I was pretty much in college. But like, I wasn't really like running around with the emo kids like that. Like, nah, I love the music, but I wasn't running around with the emo kids. But those two movies were some of my favorites as Christmas stories. I didn't really like too many Christmas movies. A lot of them were cheesy. They felt too hallmarky and everything like that. But when I got into Christmas horror, I didn't know there were Christmas horror movies. I probably didn't even know there were so many Christmas horror movies until doing this podcast. And for me, I started liking movies like Silent Night, Deadly Night, Christmas Bloody Christmas, A Christmas Horror Story. That's a classic, by the way. But the one movie I really hate that people just fucking glaze the fuck up, Black Christmas, bro. It don't matter which version of Black Christmas it is. I don't like any of them, bro. I'm sorry for all y'all that's out there and are probably like, Doom, what? How can you not like a classic? I'm sorry, bro. The movie is boring to me. Boring. It feels more stale than anything else. I'm just not impressed. I'm not impressed by it. Especially the 2019 version of this movie. I was not impressed, especially since they changed it up to make it seem like a cult was behind everything. But speaking of Black Christmas 2019, the producer of this film, of that film, I should say, is the writer and director of this film that I watched for this episode, which is Santa Isn't Real. And it's a very low budget film. It very is a low budget film. And yeah, I mean, Zach Locke, he did his thing on this movie. Actually, I think this movie was a bit more interesting than the Black Christmas movie. But let me tell y'all some of the things that happen in this movie and why it's a little bit interesting. So, to kind of go over the premise, I'm going to tell y'all the premise based on IMDb, because I feel like they did a better job than how I would have worded this whole synopsis of this movie. So, after suffering a brutal attack on Christmas Eve, a young woman, Nikki, who is played by Kaya Coleman, who was in one of Zach Lowe's films, #Float, which came out in 2022, struggles to convince her friends that the assailant was old Kris Kringle. When Santa returns to terrorize the group, Nikki and her friends must fight to stay alive. Now, here's a couple of things, and I'm going to tell y'all, because this is the film review show, so this is the film show. So as y'all know, I usually just talk about like what I like about the film, what I didn't like. So basically, there was two things that I really do like about this film that this movie did very well, which makes it kind of interesting, especially during this Christmas time of year. But let me stop. Anyway, what this movie does well, it talks about two things. Well, two topics that it really is heavy on. So one is talking about mental health, especially someone who has commit self harm to themselves, and they had to go under a coma for almost a year, and they have to deal with life after the coma. Well, after the coma. I feel like I didn't say coma right for whatever. I feel like I'm like bringing those two words together, but yeah, just adjusting life after coming out of a coma. And another topic that is very heavy on is belief. And it's just not talking about belief in Santa, but just belief in general. So first thing first, let's talk about the mental health part. So Nikki spends Christmas Eve or Christmas night by herself, ends up getting a visit by Santa Claus, who ends up cutting her arm, makes her bleed crazy to the point she passes out. She is under a coma for a year. I had to really stress the pronunciation of those two words right there. But yeah, she is under a coma for like a year. She gets out of it, and when she gets out of it, a lot of things has changed. So the things that have changed, which this movie tries to give us to kind of sympathize with Nikki, like the way the lens of this movie is portrayed for us, is that we have to kind of sympathize with Nikki, because Nikki is the one that suffered from this Santa Claus, well, this killer Santa Claus, who put her in this condition. Her family, her friends are under the impression that she tried to commit, but it wasn't. It was Santa coming and attacking her. So through all of these things that has happened throughout the year, there's a lot of changes that came through the year. So one change is that her parents, who were basically kind of giving up on her, they basically gave up and was thinking, okay, she's about to pass away. We might as well convert her room into a fitness room for us because she's not coming back. Another thing that happened is her boyfriend, who is played by Trey Anderson, and this is basically like his first role, well, his first credited movie role. His character gets with Jess, who is played by Scarlett Burdudo, and I'm pretty sure I butchered that name. She was on 3 episodes of All My Children. If any of y'all watched that, I mean, that was the most famous thing or something I've heard of. She plays the best friend Jess, and Jess and Nathan ends up becoming a couple, which unfortunately Nikki does find out later on through a friend's trip at a cabin. And when she caught them in the most precarious position ever. So, that hurts. So yeah, but also what ends up happening is that a lot of, like I mentioned before, everyone thinks that she's committed, and they basically are just moving on with their life. So for us, like as the viewer, watching everything that's happening, you kind of wonder like, okay, how would I feel to know everybody is kind of moving on with their life? When Nikki kind of finds out about Nathan and Jess, which is the craziest cherry on top, Nikki actually calls her parents. She calls her mom, to kind of tell her everything about what's happening, but they never really get quite into the conversation. The mom is more preoccupied about her guests that are coming over and basically hangs up on Nikki. Just hangs up on her without even saying goodbye or anything like that. The thing is like, as a viewer, should we sympathize with Nikki and take her side? Now, mind you, this is basically the first, I want to say 20 minutes of the movie, maybe 15 possibly. So we don't have the full story about everything that's happening yet, because things do get kind of interesting later on in the film. We are set to sympathize with Nikki a bit, because it's like, how would y'all feel, Team Doom? I mean, your parents basically got you under life support. They're thinking about pulling the cord on you. I mean, how would y'all feel if you caught your boyfriend or your girlfriend giving fellatio or cunnilingus to your supposed best friend in the act? I mean, I'm pretty sure some of y'all probably did catch your best friend or even a family member like a cousin or something like that in the act. But y'all don't need to put y'all business out there. I mean, just imagine, Team Doom, if your supposed lover, the person that you're supposed to be with, the person that you're telling all your secrets to, you're trying to build a life with each other, you're doing all these things together, for them to just drop you, and they drop you not just for anybody, but they drop you for the person that's closest to you. How would you feel, Team Doom? How would you feel? Through all of these things that are happening, we do get a bit of a counter. And we get it through a scene with MJ and Jess when they're talking. And not only that, we get it in various scenes, actually. The counter is, with all of this, even though we see everything that's happening to Nikki, the counter is, can we really side with Nikki? Was the family and friends wrong for continuing their lives while Nikki was in the hospital? Was Nikki a good person? Or was Nikki the problem? It's kind of interesting when you think about it too, because for somebody to move on with their life so easily, it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder, like, damn, did these people even care about me at all? I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all had situations where you were around somebody, you showed them nothing but love, you cared about them a lot, but then they just switch up on you. They switch up on you. And then they drop you. Just like that. Like, just no hesitations, no questions asked. They just dropped you. And you kind of wonder, like, well, damn, what was that about? It's kind of interesting when you think about it. And the way I looked at it was like, the way everyone kind of moved on with their life, I'm pretty sure they felt like Nikki was some type of issue to them. And they actually do kind of stake their problems with Nikki. So here's one of the things that was said. So one of the issues that we see with one of the characters is with Nathan. And you could see how possibly he was unhappy being with Nikki. So Nathan's unhappiness was with the whole relationship. And basically it just seems like, based on the lines that Nathan delivers to Nikki after Nikki finds out about him and Jess, it sounded like Nikki basically dominated the relationship. It sounded like everything was always about her and what she wanted to do. And he has this interesting line that makes me kind of realize, maybe Nikki is a bit of a problem. Is that he tells her, hey, sometimes I want to hang out with my friends. I don't like that, honestly. The people who feel like, when you're in a relationship with them, they think like, oh, the only person you have to be around with is me. I'm the only person you should pay attention to. I'm sorry, but here's my thing. That's insecurity. Nikki, you got some insecurities to work on, girl. You need to work on that right now. And it clearly sounds like an insecurity, and it sounds like something she didn't want to hear from Nathan either. I mean, just based on just the character in the story, just the information that we're getting from that character. But yeah, I've had friends who had significant others or relationships where, like, I don't want to say significant other because that's more like a married type thing, but these weren't marriages. Well, some of it was. Either way, they had partners that were very controlling about who they hung out with, when they could hang out with that person, and what they're doing. Now, there's a thin line, people. And I don't want to make this the relationship talk because, I hate talking about relationship shit on the podcast. But it's a thin line between insecurity and being protective. Very, very thin. Very thin. Very thin line. And a lot of times it was more so on the controlling aspect than just the, oh yeah, I just want to be protective and caring and this, that, and the other. But no, it was definitely an insecurity of wanting to have control and just dominate things, and that's things I don't like. I don't like manipulation and people who are controlling like that, because you're just feeding into their insecurities at the end of the day. For me, I'm just like, hey, take that to another sucker. Honestly, take that to another sucker. But that's just me, y'all. I'm not in this movie or in these relationships, but this is the stuff Nathan was going to, and I could feel his pain. I could sympathize with Nathan's pain, bro. I'm just saying, like, broski was literally, he probably had to do all the stupid trips, all the stupid activities, all the things that homegirl wanted to do. Homegirl was probably like, oh, let's go and watch 50 Shades of Grey. Okay, I'm just throwing 50 Shades of Grey. I know it's not a new movie out there, but I'm just throwing a movie out there. I'm just throwing a movie out there. And broski was probably like, all right, let's go watch it. She was probably like, oh, let's go watch Taylor Swift. And broski was probably like, I don't fuck with Taylor Swift, but all right, I guess I'll go watch it too. It was probably like a lot of things Nathan had to go through in order to please this girl, which I honestly, it sounds like there was no pleasing her anyway, based on like what some of these characters have said about her. Yo, Walterdoom here, and if you guys are enjoying this podcast and you want to donate to the show, yo, your boy got a Ko-fi account. Make sure you check that out in the link in the bio and donate whatever you can. Also, if you are a creator, a director, or anybody that's involved with podcasting or film and you want to come along on a podcast and talk with your boy, hit me up. My email is in the description, and you can hit me up on Instagram on Walterdoom Horror. Also, if you are enjoying the show and you love your boy and you want to give him like a few follows, likes, subscribe, comments, go ahead. It's free 99 to do that. Other than that, let's get back to the show. Another interesting thing about Nikki, which makes her kind of look very bad, is a scene where Jess was confronting Nikki about her relationship with Jess. And Jess basically told Nikki that she got tired of living in her shadow. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, by the way, but she just said like she got tired of living in her shadow. Now, Jess, here's the thing about Jess, bro. Jess is one of those frenemies. You know, they're good to your face, but they talk shit about you behind their back. Well, behind your back, I should say. And one scene we see from Jess where she does this is when she's in a conversation with MJ and they're talking about Nikki's I shouldn't even be saying that word, but talking about her self-harm attempt. And Jess basically is saying things like, well, you know what? She's just being delusional. She's trying to get attention. She's trying to blame Santa Claus, which she does tell everybody Santa Claus. Well, Nikki tells everybody and her friends that, well, she tells her friends that Santa Claus tried to kill her, but no one believes her, which is the biggest thing about this story, which is belief, which we will get to soon. Jess basically believes like there's no such thing as Santa Claus. She's making this shit up. MJ believes in Santa Claus because of an incident that happened to her years ago as a child where her family wasn't making enough money for Christmas. So, well, her dad wasn't making enough money, so there was going to be no Christmas presents. What ends up happening, they end up getting presents, and the dad is shocked, the mom is shocked, the kids are shocked too. The dad believes the mom is having an affair. The mom believes, hey, you're trolling me. That relationship basically ends. MJ is basically telling Jess, hey, I think it's real. I think this situation is real. But Jess doesn't believe it. Jess believes that Nikki, who wants all the attention, which Nikki does sound like she does want some attention all the time. Who knows what her social media behaviors are or how she acts with people in real life. But I would truly have to say, like, in this day and age, the climate of society is a bit more narcissistic than previous generations in the past. But that is a conversation for another day. I'm pretty sure some of my older folks out here that are listening to me could agree. Like, yes, we are definitely in a narcissistic generation right now, or a narcissistic society right now. But Jess definitely has beef with Nikki on a lot of things that she does. In her conflict and conversation with Nikki, one of the things that she called Nikki was basically a pillow princess. A pillow princess. Hence why she said, like, yeah, that's why I took your man, this, that, and the other. And it was petty. It was some real petty shit right there. You know what I'm saying? So Jess, this is why I'm saying, like, with Jess, I don't know we could fully trust Jess in her judgment about Nikki. Nathan seemed like he doesn't have any ulterior motives or thoughts about Nikki. For real, he's playing it straight of like, you know what, Nikki, all I wanted to do was be your man, be happy, do some things, and just go about our life, you know. But she was definitely sounding like she was controlling the relationship. She wanted things her way. I mean, even in the beginning of the movie, when she gets out of the coma and she is talking to Nathan and not MJ but Jess about what they're going to do for Christmas, and they were talking about going to a cabin with MJ, And Nikki just was so adamant about going to the cabin. She did not want to take no for an answer. No, she did not want to take no for an answer. So that's one incident we could truly say, like, okay, Nathan is probably onto something. Now, Jess, on the other hand, we could probably say, we don't know, bro. We don't know. Like the jury is still out there. I mean, it's like Jay-Z said, we don't believe you. We need more people, honestly. Going to the third point of maybe Nikki is the problem is the parents. The parents spent a lot of money, probably thousands of dollars in medical expenses to keep their daughter alive. Now, I got curious and I was thinking, okay, how much would it cost for medical expenses for someone who has a coma and they're on it for like a very long time? So I did the lazy man thing. I went to Google AI. So Google AI results was this. So it said the medical expenses for a coma patient can vary widely depending on the severity of the coma, length of stay in the hospital, required treatments, and location. But generally, the cost can range from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars, with some severe cases reaching over $1 million due to prolonged intensive care unit stays and necessary therapies. Are the parents really wrong for wanting to cut the cord? It's a gruesome thought if you really think about it, because they're spending thousands of dollars. And keep in mind, she was under a coma for a year. A year, bro. Were the parents really that terrible for wanting to cut the cord and cut their losses? Were the parents really that terrible for moving all her shit out of her room and building a fitness center in there? Were the parents really that wrong for already planning her funeral? Fortunately for Nikki, Jess, who has a strong belief in God, actually talked the parents out of making the funeral happen and pulling the cord and convinced them that, hey, God has a plan and he does not want you to cut the cord on her. Let her stay. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a parent. I don't have any kids. And for me, I can't really see. I can't really see how I can make that decision, to be honest. Because, yeah, there's a financial standpoint. I mean, we're talking about money that probably these parents will never see in their lifetime. Never see. And they're spending it all on medical expenses. I mean, I feel like this goes back to, and maybe this is another thing that this movie tries to talk about, is how bad our Medicare system is and how ass backwards it is. But yeah, we're talking about spending like thousands of dollars for someone to sit in the hospital. They're sitting in the hospital. That's it. I mean, yeah, you're getting the therapies, you're getting like the treatments while this person is in this coma, but ultimately, this person is just lying there several hours a day for the whole year until they wake up. Tens of thousands to $1 million, people. Ridiculous. I mean, I think the bigger question is how much is the medical field getting away with murder right now and stealing from us? But that's another story for another day. I feel like that's my favorite thing of saying, like, when I'm trying to bring up something important. that's totally unrelated to this movie or to any movie. And I'm just like, yeah, this is just a story for another day. Think about that, y'all. But the biggest thing on why the parents for sure did not want to pull the plug is belief. Belief, which is the second thing that was brought into the story. But it wasn't just the belief part, but it's more so on like, where is the line drawn on belief? Now, mind y'all, I was talking about Santa Claus. Santa Claus. Mr. Kris Kringle. Big puffy beard. Loves to eat cookies. Breaking in people's houses. Leaving them gifts. Whether it's a toy train or a lump of coal, he's leaving you something. I swear I would hate being the kid that gets a lump of coal, though. Like, me and Santa would have major beef, bro. It wouldn't even end until, like, I die. I swear, I would probably be, like, 50 years old, still believing in Santa, talking about, like, dear Santa, you are a bitch ass nigga. like Riley off the Boondocks, man. We gonna have beef. Sincerely, the Santa stalker. Like, honestly, bro. Me and Santa are gonna be squabbling. Squabble up. I'm just saying, bro. Like, me and Santa, we are not going to be on good terms. I'm just saying. But coming back to the movie now, we're talking about belief and where the line is being drawn on belief. So like I mentioned before, Jess and MJ had a discussion about Nikki and her run-in with Santa. The thing that MJ questions to Jess about is, so you don't believe in Santa, but do you believe in God? And you believe God's birthday, or Jesus Christ's birthday, I should say, is on Christmas. Then she asks, well, if you believe in God, do you believe in Satan? Do you believe in the angels? Where Jess facetiously counters with, well, if I believe in all that, why not believe in the Easter Bunny? And it made me think, like, what this movie is trying to tell you is, where does the line truly get drawn on belief? You know, where do we go to where we think something is real or something is bullshit? Now, I'm not going to talk religion with y'all because everyone is entitled to their religious belief. Honestly, I'm not the person that likes to disrespect people's religion. The fake people that do the whole religious belief, I make fun of. I talk shit about them. Like the fake people who act like they're holier than thou, but they're fucking assholes. Oh yeah, I talk shit about them. I talk major shit about them. Because I'm just like, yo, bro, like Kanye said, that ain't Christ-like. That ain't Christ-like, bro. Being a fucking asshole, that ain't Christ-like. I don't like the I want to call them Philistines, but I don't think that's the right term for them. But either way, yeah, I don't like those type of people that just, the hypocrites, basically. The people who basically go to church every Sunday and they try and preach the word, and they preach the word to you, and they say all these religious quotes and what have you. But then it's like, outside of those words, they're living a total different life. And it's very contradictory. And it's like, bro, how are you going to preach something that you quote unquote believe in, but you live a totally different life from the word of it? And I get it. Like, we're all not perfect. We're all imperfect, you know, at the end of the day. But I just don't like people who judge other people and make them, and basically put people down and make them feel bad for their lack of belief, when the person that does believe does more sinning than the person who's not believing. You get what I'm saying? So, I mean, that's just me, Team Doom. That's just me. That's my little religious talk. That's my TED talk for a moment. But we'll get back into this. But yeah. So it drew me to a question: is can you believe in Santa and still believe in God? And the thing is like with Santa, and this is the thing, and this is why I say, like, where does the line of belief get drawn? Because Santa, as we all know, Santa is probably the symbol of our parents lying to us as a kid. This is the first sign of our parents lying to us. I'm sorry, but if you really think about it, the whole pageantry of Christmas and Santa Claus and the reindeers, the elves and Santa's lair, the North Pole and everything like that. Total lies by the parents. It's like in the episode of King of the Hill when they're hunting snipes and all that. You know, we Matanye, we Matanye, motherfucker. But I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure those that don't watch King of the Hill are like, the fuck is you talking about, bro? Here's the thing. Here are the lies that our parents tell us to believe. Not only do we have to believe in Santa Claus as a kid, but we have to believe in the Tooth Fairy, Easter Bunny, the Sandman, the Boogeyman, and just countless other mythical creatures that don't really exist. And the thing is like, when you get older, and this is where I feel like a lot of our traumas start to come into fruition slowly as a kid, especially trauma and friction between, your parents and all that, is like Santa Claus is the start of the lies our parents tell us. It is the lie that most parents tell us. I don't know how many of you guys grew up in a home where Santa Claus wasn't actually being promoted as a figure at all, but and in my household, he wasn't so much being promoted, but he was more implied as the person who is giving us these gifts. Fortunate for me, at a very young age, I realized Santa isn't real, which all comes back to the title of this movie. We're all getting lied to. How are we all not more mad at our parents? Honestly. It's like, imagine the kid that has nothing and it's always in the TV shows. It's always in the TV shows. And I never really think about this, but I'm thinking about it right now. Is think about the kid that has nothing. His parents can't really afford a lot of things, and this kid wants something crazy like, I don't know, a pony or a fucking PlayStation 5. Let's say they just can't afford the PlayStation 5 or whatever, or PlayStation 5 Pro. Let's say it's like a PlayStation 5 Pro. He wants that. Parents can't afford it. Short on money. Inflation. It's 2024. The kid has this strong belief system in Santa Claus, Kris Kringle. It makes me wonder, for the kid whose parents are financially unable to buy these things for this kid, what happens to that kid on Christmas Day? I'm pretty sure that kid becomes Riley. Dear Santa, you is a bitch ass nigga. Oh man. I'm sorry, I'm having a little too fun with that right now. But yeah, he probably ends up becoming Riley, or he becomes depressed. He loses faith. He loses hope. And then he gets to a point where the secret is revealed. Santa isn't real.
I do. I know everything. Phil got a new Reptar doll. Lil got a new coloring book. And what did you get?
But if you do believe in Santa, I mean, like I mentioned before, Santa's a criminal. Even if you do believe in Santa, you should be scared as hell by him. At least Father Rick does. Father Rick thinks you should be afraid of Santa. Now, Father Childrick, played by David Mitchum Brown, who was in the Blair Witch Legacy, he played Giles Corey in that movie. I haven't seen it before, but that's who he plays for those that have seen that movie before. He believes the thin line. Okay, y'all know I'm in a good mood if I keep doing shit like that. But yeah, the thin line between Santa and Satan is real. Oh yeah, I love his monologue in this movie because he has this monologue between him and Nathan, who finds out later on in this movie they're getting attacked by Santa, who turns out to be none other than Nikki. Shocker, right? Yeah, Father Rick has a soliloquy that I was just like, you know what? You have a point. Because the thing about Santa is what he represents. Santa represents commercialism. Santa represents the secular world. And Father Rick believes Santa is trying to kill everybody. Maybe not violently like in this movie, but morally, he is corrupting everybody. He feels that everybody should have a fear of Santa, and that Santa is not the, as he quotes, Coca-Cola picture that you see, but he is the symbol of everyone's deepest fears. Now, it kind of brought me back to like what people used to say about Satan. Satan can come in many forms. Do I believe Satan could come in many forms? Oh yeah, definitely. He could come in many forms as like a person. He could come in a form of confusion. He could come into a form of probably that alcohol bottle that you're drinking out of. But again, like I said, this ain't religion talk. This isn't my area of talking, but because this movie does deal with a bit of religion and talk about belief, I am including some talks about this, but I'm not getting deep into it. But as we move on talking about the movie, he does bring some good points about how Santa and the representation of him is a mockery to God. So in a soliloquy, he says about Santa, the things that he does is making light of the sacrament by eating a cookie instead of a wafer, which I thought was very interesting. I was like, ooh, he came in with the heat. Ooh, okay, Father Rick, I hear you. Then another thing he said was promising his return as if he were the Messiah. Ooh, another hit. Ugh, Father Rick with the heat right now. Then he came up with this other line. He said, he's no better than a vagrant, an itinerant sneaking into homes with his cheap so-called list. Ooh, I was like Harlem shaking to that one. I was like, ooh, Father Rick, yes, get him. And then the last part was naughty or nice, as if a fat man in a silly red hat could decide whether we live or die. And that's where Father Rick dies in the film. But Father Rick was out here bringing the heat before Santa in a Santa mask killed him. But I think I jumped on a little bit too much on the things that I liked about this movie. Let's get into like a bit of what I didn't like about this movie. So one of the things I didn't really like was the Santa Claus in the mask. We're all used to seeing like somebody playing a Santa Claus, like a Santa Claus in some type of way, shape, or form. Some of my favorite Santa Claus in movies have been the Robo Santa in Christmas Bloody Christmas, of course Billy, who was the killer Santa in Silent Night, Deadly Night, and Santa Claus from Tales from the Crypt, that killer Santa. Oh man, that dude was vicious. If y'all seen that Tales from the Crypt movie from the 70s, whoo, that Santa was vicious. He had no chill. And I mean, can we include Art the Clown? Because Art the Clown does kind of like go as Santa, and he goes on a killing spree as well. I mean, but he was more like a mall Santa, so mall Santas don't fucking count, bro. But anyway, what I didn't like about this Santa Claus is that for the fact that the Santa Claus, well, the face was just a mask. It was literally just a mask, and I felt like instead of it being a mask, it should have been a person playing Santa. But here's the thing. It does have an essential use to it. The reason why Santa was in a mask, because it was Nikki. Nikki was the killer the whole time. And it's played very intricately. I mean, what Zach Locke did to have a Santa Claus killer with a mask, and especially having Nikki actually identify Santa Claus, like the killer was a Santa Claus in a mask. She does eventually say that in the film. So it does all kind of have an essential part to it. It's not just a random, oh yeah, we just couldn't get a guy to play Santa. I mean, and it was definitely used for the big reveal as well, to honestly know who the Santa Claus killer is. So, as much as I didn't really like it being like a Santa Claus in a mask, it does play an essential role to where, we see the big reveal and we see and hear why Nikki went on the killing spree that she did. So now that we talked about things that I didn't like, because I was like very, basic, and I mean, I didn't have much to say about that. I wanted to kind of close out. And closing out, I wanted to go like a little bit beyond the movie. Like kind of like just theorize on where the characters might be based on everything that we have seen in this film. The first thing I asked myself was, can Nikki heal from her pain and trauma? And this one is a very deep question. It's very complex because I feel like there are complexities to it. But I basically don't think she will. I mean, honestly speaking, I mean, she did the one thing Batman did not want to do, is take a life. She took a life, and she not only just took a life, she took her friends and her ex-boyfriend's life. And this is where I feel like, because she killed those people, she is gonna basically be like American Psycho. She is going to be a sociopath who blends into society, act like she's normal, but when she gets triggered about whatever she gets triggered by, especially if it's dealing with her past, I think she's gonna go on a killing spree. She's going to kill those people. I mean, a scene where we kind of see what this could possibly look like for her is in the cabin scene where all the friends are together. She basically found her boyfriend and her best friend basically giving oral to each other, and she's upset about it. She tries to move on with the situation, plays like, ha ha ha, yeah, you know what? I'm not upset. I was in a coma for a year. You know, you guys are grown adults, blah, blah, blah. I hate when people do shit like that, honestly. It's so fake. It's the fakest shit ever, honestly. Bro, I swear. I hear motherfuckers do that all the time. Oh my god, you're grown adults. You know, it's like, bro, just speak your mind. Just speak your mind. Maybe that's why shit just be going crazy for me sometimes, because sometimes I just be speaking my mind, or I try not to speak it at all. But because I know I'm gonna say some fucked up shit, but you know, speak your mind. But she ends up going ahead and killing those people. You know, she tries to put on a brave face. Now, another thing is, going back to what I was mentioning earlier about how like she was possibly not a good person to begin with. So we're going into like the whole area of possibly Nikki was a narcissist, bro. She was definitely self-centered. She wanted things her way, and only her pleasures mattered. The thing is, somebody with that much narcissistic tendencies is probably not going to go well for the next person that deals with this narcissist. You know, and I just thought to myself, like, okay, well, if she is dealing with another best friend, boyfriend type situation, not boyfriend, best friend are fucking each other, but more like she has a new best friend, she has a new boyfriend, and you know, she's basically trying to, quote unquote, have a normal life with these people. But eventually, I mean, trauma is a big thing. Trauma never really goes away. It's always about like how you cope with it. And like I mentioned before, because she is going to be on this American Psycho, American Mary type shit, you know, this type of architect, she's not going to really sympathize with these people. She's not really going to be understanding their problems or anything like that. I feel like with her, she's going to do the same thing she was doing with the other people. And when they get out of line for her, oh, they're pretty much good as dead. They're good as dead. Those people are dead. Because, I mean, girl sounds like she is definitely someone who likes to play victim a lot, according to Jess. You know, we know that she's self-centered based on what Jess and Nathan have said, you know, since Jess called her a pillow princess. Oh, you know she's self-centered in the bedroom. And if she's self-centered in the bedroom, she's self-centered outside of that motherfucker. And we see, like, that she is definitely manipulative. You know, based on what we see during that cabin massacre, where she tries to act like she's not the killer, but she really is. All right, y'all. So we're winding down. We're winding down, y'all. We're getting there. Don't trip, y'all. We getting there. So another question that I posed as to going beyond this story is, what happens to MJ? So MJ ends up witnessing Nikki killing everybody. What ends up happening is MJ meets up with Nikki and tells Nikki, I believe you. I believe Santa is real. Behind Nikki's back is a knife. And what we see in the end credits of this movie is Nikki takes the knife and puts the knife on the back of MJ. We don't see what happens to MJ afterwards, but it makes me wonder, what does happen to MJ? Does MJ die? Does MJ live? Now, here's the thing. Two scenarios could possibly happen, and one of the two scenarios has a two-parter to it. So one scenario is Nikki kills MJ, knowing that MJ is trying to befriend her and trying to butter her up as a tactic to kind of side with the killer so she could live. I think Nikki could possibly be aware that's what that's what MJ is trying to do. Another scenario is Nikki succumbs to MJ's manipulation, and that will lead to her death or arrest. Yeah, the ending is pretty much open-ended, so one of those two things can happen to Nikki at the end of the movie. And I mean, we don't really get the answer truly unless there's going to be a sequel. Alright, y'all, so welcome to the outro, and as y'all know, I usually talk about the movies that I have watched during the time of this recording, but I want to change it up a bit, just like I did for Thanksgiving. I want to talk about life in general as we are drawing closer to Christmas, or depending on when you're listening to this, it is Christmas, because I'm pretty sure when this episode comes out, it is going to be Christmas Eve, so as y'all know, this is always a time about family, friends, loved ones, whatever. You know, and I feel like there's so much emphasis about being with someone during this holiday season. And I feel like a lot of people get looked down upon who don't have that kind of kinship to go to or relationship to go to during the holiday season. Whether it's people who are just alone, dealing with depression or whatever, people who are struggling, living on the streets, or just straight up homeless. Whether it's people who are struggling for their next meal and don't know where it's going to come from. You know what I'm saying? You know, I feel like there needs to be more inclusiveness about people who struggle during this time of season. You know, there are people who are spending the holiday season with family that they love, family that they hate, or both. You know, or both. You know, there are people who are spending the holiday season who have lost a loved one, whether it's recent or even just years ago. You know, maybe they lost their loved one during Christmas time. And each time this year runs around, it's going to be a reminder of when that person left. I just want to say right now, for all of those that are struggling out there, you know, Walterdoom gives you his all-time blessings for the holiday season. Whether you're spending it alone, whether you're spending it with family, sending plenty of blessings to y'all out there, because we're all struggling. We're all anxious about this upcoming year that is about to roll around soon. Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of us are not, well, I shouldn't include myself, but because I mean, not to get political on here, but I am going to exit myself out of all the political talks. But a lot of people, I should say, because I want to keep this neutral, a lot of people out there are very upset about the election and who is coming back. The bitch is back. Okay, let me stop. That was probably unnecessary. I don't know why I thought about Elton John, but either way, a regime is coming back, and it does have a lot of people anxious about the new year and the oncoming years that follow as well. And I wouldn't even just say it's just only the 4 years, but we're talking about the next 8 or so years where everyone is kind of anxious about where this country is going to go and how is it going to function. Now, I would say instead of worrying about the political bullshit, because I'm gonna be honest, and this is probably fueled to why I'm just like trying to be on social media less. Well, it's part of the topics of why I'm going to be on social media less, if not delete my account. But just all the friction, the vitriol that I have seen and heard, I have not been amused. I have not been receptive. And honestly, for me, I was just like, yo, I am exiting all this conversation altogether. Like, oh man, Doom, who did you vote for? Don't worry about that. Because either way, I think y'all motherfuckers will get it wrong anyway. I don't know. I think some of y'all would get it right if you actually fucking know me, for one. But, you know, I feel like for those that probably would just assume who I voted for just because I got a dick, we'll probably get it wrong anyway. Oh man, I need to stop. But anyway, y'all, but for the people out there that are struggling, you know, because it ain't about this political shit, fuck that shit, bro. I'm gonna say this, y'all need to focus on getting your bag together. Get your bag. Focus on you. Ain't no motherfucker going to save you. Ain't no motherfucking government going to save you. Get your bag. However you can. You know, do it legally. Let me add that too. Do it legally. Do that shit legally, bruh. I'm just saying, bro. Yeah. But yeah, motherfuckers need to focus on getting a bag together and shit like that, because yeah, a lot of niggas ain't ready for what's coming up, you know? But anyway, for those out there, you know, like I mentioned before, that are struggling, that are hurt, depressed, struggling with mental health as well. Like I mentioned before, Walterdoom sends you your blessings. And I hope that y'all have a good Christmas and y'all do see, especially the ones that are on the brink of self-deletion, I hope you see another year. You know, and you find the love and happiness in your heart that you need to find. But other than that, this is Walterdoom signing out for another episode of Filming Guts. If y'all want to follow me on those social medias are Instagram, Walterdoom Horror, TikTok, if that's still going to be a thing. I heard that shit is about to get shut down. Anyway, that ain't none of my business. Anyway, TikTok, Walterdoom Horror, YouTube, Walterdoom Horror, and of course the podcast is on a lot of the streaming podcast channels like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. You know, just look for Walterdoom. And also, shouts out to my boys, Algorithm C, Callie the Wolf. They supply the beats to this show. Other than that, this has been an episode. Merry Christmas, everybody. Stay diabolical, people. Peace.